Let's talk about the Kenyan markets, how they've performed. The NSE 20 down 1.12%, coming in at 4,090 points. What do you make of the situation?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Give us your views on how the markets performed today. It's closed down 1.12%.
Oh yes, we've seen the market continuing its downward trend. And this is on the back of investors being cautious, taking a cautious view on the market going forward.
Okay, now we know that the market has lost about 10% since January. Investors are now starting to raise eyebrows as to what's going on in Kenya. What do you think the problems are?
I think the price increase that we've been seeing has been factored into the prices. That's the earnings that were expected, and especially the banking sector, were factored into the prices. So we saw a lot of profit taking in the past few weeks, and therefore the prices kept coming down. And investors saw the prices coming down and assumed that we are going into a downward market.
But is it purely profit-taking, Muthoni? I mean, we've seen very good results coming out of the banks. A lot of industries have shown improvement, and we're seeing higher dividends. These should be factors that inspire investors to return to the market, but they're holding back.
Yes, indeed it is. But foreign investors have also been coming out of the market, given the North Africa turmoil that's happening. And we know that foreign investors tend to take a whole view on Africa, as opposed to specific markets like Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya. So if there's any turmoil happening in one country, for instance, Egypt, they will get out of Africa as a whole. And the coming out of foreign investors in the Nairobi market has also contributed to the downward trend that we have been seeing.
Let's talk about other factors at play that may impact more severely on the market. Obviously, there have been issues about the stability of the coalition government. There's now fears of inflation looming with higher energy prices and the fact that Kenya imports all of its refined product. There's the weaker shilling. How are all these variables going to influence how investors see the NSE?
I think in terms of the shilling, that is what would impact the investment in Kenya, but it would be a benefit to foreign investors in terms of the shilling will be cheaper to them. However, the outlook for inflation is what would deter them from getting into our market.
All right, let's talk about counters that performed today. We've seen a variety of gainers in the form of Carb Asset, Access and others.
I would attribute this to, well, for Carb Asset it was just 100 shares that traded, so there's nothing much in terms of fundamentals that happened there. As well as the other counters that you have mentioned, I wouldn't say that there's a change in fundamentals causing the prices to increase.
Okay, we've also seen some topsy-turvy activity happening on the financials. They've accounted for over 37% of market activity today. KCB is unchanged. Co-op Bank is down 60 cents. Standard Chartered, despite good results, is also trading in the region of about 260 shillings. What do you make of this?
For KCB, I'd say it has held strong at 23.25, so that was not too much of a downward trend. For COPE and particularly Stanchart, that's profit-taking that has happened, as well as, yeah, actually I'd say it's profit-taking.
All right, let's talk about some of the more prominent counters. I mean, we know that in recent weeks, obviously because of a good dividend, NIC has done well. Housing finance has been something to look out for. Sasini is down 3.8%. I think it's something to do with the shilling, given that agriculture accounts for a significant proportion of foreign earnings that come into the economy. But on average, some of these major counters have seen price declines of about 4%. Yeah, what do you make of that?
Well, for NIC and HFCK, the price increase had already been factored into these prices. We saw HFCK reach levels of 29 from 26, and then it's now back to levels of 26, 75. Therefore, we can see that the price had factored in the earnings expectations.
Let's talk about the shilling. Obviously, it is a talking point. The trading range this week, 82 shillings 90, 83 shillings 90, somewhere within that bracket. The weaker shilling, we've spoken about how it might deter investors coming through because of the inflation situation. But for the broader economy, what's the impact?
Definitely will have a negative impact because Kenya is a net importer, meaning that our imports will now be more expensive. And particularly our energy costs will be more expensive given the increase in oil, the crude oil that has been happening. Therefore, we can expect the manufacturing sector to be affected, the transport sector to be affected, as well as other sectors as a derivative of these sectors will be affected. Therefore, the economy outlook going forward will be subdued, will be lower.
And then talking about inflation, which is on the rise, but we know that the central bank insists in the medium term, at least, on a looser monetary policy. Are there calls and is there pressure for the central bank to enter the market, to defend the shilling, to do something?
At the moment, no. I don't think the central bank should be coming into the market at this point because the inflation is more of a cost push inflation than it is a demand pull inflation. It's been caused mainly by the increase in oil prices as well as food.